Great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Congratulations to the organizers for this amazing turnout. So I'm coming here on behalf of Custodio, which is a Singaporean subsidiary of Israeli Aerospace Industries, IAI. And over the past few years, IAI has been engaged in several national-level cybersecurity projects throughout the world. And what I thought to do in this event is share some of the insights. I'm happy that we all were honored to hear what the minister had to share with us, and I think this would echo a lot of what he's said, and this is being implemented in Thailand today. So again, I think today there's no argument that whatever your political system or whatever your economic system or structure, there is a role and a critical role for government in cybersecurity and within the ecosystem. This is true in our experience globally. So wherever you are situated in the world, and no matter how your economy is structured or the leading industries in your country, you are compelled to have a role for government in the cybersecurity ecosystem. And this is becoming increasingly more complicated because the traditional IT security measures are not enough anymore. The perimeter is becoming wider. You are dealing with support elements, with vendors, physical presence of people coming in and out, and some of them are not even within your jurisdiction. Connectivity, the old myth of proprietary networks, OT network being segregated is no longer the case. And of course, vendors are international and you're dependent on them. Now, the question is, what is the role of government? So what we believe in is going or visualizing something which is wider than a project. It's a robust cyber ecosystem. And it includes several elements. So of course, you have your national level and sectorial cyber defense. These are the operations that you have on a national level. You have your critical infrastructure defense, and sometimes even bespoke mission critical cyber defense. But the critical issue, I think, when envisioning the role of government and a national vision for cybersecurity is reaching a point of independence, indigenous capabilities, eliminating or minimizing the dependencies on third parties and external elements beyond your country. Now, what is an ecosystem? So the minister alluded to this. This is very complex in any country, and again, whatever the system, whatever the structure of the company. So it includes, obviously, the ministries, the government agencies, state-owned enterprises, institutes of higher learning, but also private and public enterprises, the defense complex, and more and more and more. Now, it's true that you can't implement the same type of control or guidance on each of them. Obviously, when you're dealing with the entire market and public, the role of government is more in promoting knowledge transfer and awareness, but there's a critical role for government there as well. As you move towards essential sectors and organizations, whether private, public, or government-owned, you're starting to move toward mandatory standards and regulations and laws, like done here in Thailand. And when you deal with the most critical infrastructure, then you have dedicated guidelines, dedicated guidance, and sometimes proprietary technologies and solutions that you want to implement. Now, another key element, and again, the minister talked about it, is the collaborative approach. And again, the private sector shouldn't be interfered with. The public sector should be enabled to grow, to implement their business structure. But there's a critical role in sharing knowledge, cooperating together to ensure the security of the nation. And this is something that the government should see as not as a liability, but as something to leverage and move forward. Now, every country moving forward, and happily Thailand has already started and made great strides in it, looks towards the world and sees many standards put in place. The question is, do we adopt this? Are these any good? So the answer is that most definitely yes. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of insights to gain from these national standards and initiatives. But we usually don't guide or don't recommend implementing them completely one by one. There should be an adaptation to the specific needs and the specific nature and the specific structure of each country. Now this is an illustration, but again, there are various elements here, and the list that was presented by the minister was much more extensive. But our point is that every work has to start with a strategy, the roadmap. The vision needs to be clear, and then you start roping in all the stakeholders. You then start with interagency cooperation. What you don't want to have is silos, and different agencies receiving mandates and starting to going on their own path, not sharing information, not syncing, doing twice the work that should be done. Regulation and legislation should be enacted then, and then the actual structure of the ecosystem, of the agencies, of the organization in charge of cyber, and restructuring and starting to structure a resilient ecosystem. Now again, this is an example. This is an example from one of the works we did. The end should be a framework. Now it's not all realized in one shot. It's not a big bang. It's something to work with. But once you have that vision, you can start putting the pieces in place of this puzzle towards this vision. By the way, naturally, and we're talking about cyber, which is very dynamic, this should be updated. And again, the more independent you are, the more able you are to cater for these changes as they go along and as the needs arises. Now, again, and I said that before, a national endeavor like this should not be a big bang. It should not be viewed as a single project or a combination of projects. It should be a vision, and there should be a roadmap driving it. That roadmap should be phased. It has to be phased. Not all countries start at the same level. And even countries who are very advanced need to mature and change as they go along. You need to identify the most critical organizations, and this is the same way we use in enterprises. We identify risks, we identify the critical assets, we identify the damage that could be done, and we hit those first. But because we're dealing with governments and public awareness and public sentiments, there's also the issue of quick wins. And when we work with governments, a lot of the times we wanted to identify those quick wins that you can act upon and then start the ball rolling. Get a good vibe about the national project and get this pushed forward. And of course, needed lesson that we can help collect from the world. The last element is the human capital. And I won't go into this. This is something that we know how to offer to countries. But the main element here, and because we're short on time, is to nurture human capital within the country with the aim of not only creating technician, analysts, operators, but having national independence at the end of the day. Having that core of people that can push the nation forward, have the independence to create technology even indigenously, not reinvent the wheel, but knowing that you can do the work yourselves. So a bit about who we are. So IAI, of course, is one of Israel's leading technology vendors and integrators around the world. It's a state-owned enterprise. A few years ago, the cyber division was created there, and we focus specifically on national solutions. Our belief is that national challenges require national great solutions. IAI is the head of Israel's cyber ecosystem and innovation through a consortium, which is called the Israeli Cyber Companies Consortium, which is backed by the Israeli government, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, through which we cooperate with the leading names in Israeli cybersecurity, being able to offer these types of national level solutions together. We're also now heading the Israeli Aviation Cybersecurity Companies Consortium, which started only this year. And again, the idea is to focus on this most critical national infrastructure. And why am I here? So again, this is our last slide. I'm the general manager of Custodio. Custodio was a subsidiary of IAI, started in Singapore in 2014. We're an R&D center. We develop technologies in Singapore, but we also represent IAI here in the region. This is a good thing. We're close by. We're very Asian and focused in our Asian-focused and ASEAN-focused in our work. So we'll be happy to engage with any of you moving forward. Again, a hop and a skip away, literally. Thank you.